It's a bold statement to make, but Aaron Judge might be having the greatest offensive season in Major League Baseball history. Actually, let's narrow it down a little bit. The greatest offensive season in the modern era without any help, as in steroids. People have different ideas of when the modern era starts. Some would say 1900, maybe the 1960s, or when everyone was eventually allowed to play. Jackie Robinson's rookie year, 1947. Although there's no official year, we'll go with 1969 because that's when the teams started to split into divisions and baseball started to finally look a little more modern. And regardless of what your opinion is on guys like Barry Bonds, at the end of the day, they did cheat and had help put up the numbers they did. So we are narrowing it down a little bit by removing players like Babe Ruth and Barry Bonds. But I wouldn't call the last 50 years plus a no cheating cherry picking. Aaron Judge is making history right in front of our eyes, and it's not only the home runs. First, let's look at the obvious part with his home runs. Again, people will argue what the home run record is. Officially, it's Bonds 73. You can't rewrite the history books. But if you're looking at the clean record, it's Roger Maris's 61, set back in 1961, winning his second straight MVP. Year before, he hit 39, and the year after, he hit 33. He went 4 straight All-Star appearances, 2 MVPs, a Gold Glove, and what many people would say is the home run record in a single season. Maris doesn't find himself in the Hall of Fame. When you watch the reactions of every Judge's home runs as he chases down records, it's all excited fans, all on their feet regardless of the score, inning, or opponent. Just happy about the thought of Judge sending another one out of the park. It wasn't the same with Maris back in 1961 though. The next closest Yankee this season is Anthony Rizzo at 31, and the next closest in baseball is Kyle Schwarber with 40. He has a 20 home run lead in all of baseball currently. But with Maris, even while setting the record, he had competition on his own team, Mickey Mantle. Yankee fans weren't rooting for either of the two to break Babe Ruth's 60 home run record. They were rooting for the guy who has been in New York his entire 90-year career at that point, not the new guy who was only in his second year with the Yankees. Some even considered Maris's record would have an asterisk next to it since he would have 162 games while Ruth only had 154. It's not like Yankee fans didn't want Maris to be good, they just didn't want him to be better than Mantle and Ruth, and he was, at least for that one season. Maris was booed. The media made him feel like his accomplishments didn't count, and he also got plenty of death threats. Today, all of New York and almost all of baseball fans are rooting for Judge to hit home run after home run to break Maris's record, the American League record, and some would say the single season record. Home runs are great, but that's not the only reason he's getting the love he is for MVP over Ohtani and saying he's having the greatest season ever. It gets lost in the home runs, but it's only been done once since 1967, the Triple Crown. Batting average, RBIs, and home runs. The Triple Crown stats aren't as important as they used to be. Some would say batting average and RBIs are completely irrelevant. Miguel Cabrera did it in his historic 2012 season. Even though looking at more important stats, his 2013 season was better overall. Both years, he did end up winning the MVP. Judge has a big lead in RBIs and of course home runs, but the batting title could come down to the final day, battling with Xander Bogaerts from the Red Sox and Luis Ariz from the Twins. Even with some of the stats not determining alone how great of a player you are, considering it's only been done once in the modern era, that just adds to the argument of MVP and truly how great of a season he's had. Last year was almost done by Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and some argue that if he was able to achieve it, then he should have been MVP over Shohei Ohtani in 2021. It wasn't a popular opinion though. There's lots of stats the media and the front office may look at to determine how great a hitter a player is. OPS, on base plus slugging, has become very popular recently. Older fans could say batting average, but a stat most fans would say they look at the most is WRC plus, weighted runs created plus. The league average is 100 and it takes into account the ballparks. Considering some would say Yankee Stadium is a small stadium, WRC plus shows how great Judge is in or out of the Bronx. The highest in a single season in the modern era, Barry Bonds in 2002 with 244, then Bonds in 2001, Bonds in 2004, and in fourth, Bonds in 2003. All 4 years he won MVP, but again, we already eliminated Bonds with him using steroids during that time. Who's after Bonds, you may ask? Aaron Judge in 2022 with a 211 WRC+. Aaron Judge has the highest WRC plus in a single season of all time, doing it clean. Judge is 17th all time in a single season with an OPS of 1.126. But 12 of the guys in front of him are from the steroid era. Barry Bonds is on there multiple times, while players like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire are also before Judge. Manny Ramirez, who didn't take steroids but a different performance-enhancing drug, Jason Giambi, and Carlos Delgado also finds himself in front too. And although he's never been linked to steroids, he did play in the peak of that era. Larry Walker and Todd Helton have 3 spots to their names too, and although they did it clean, they did play in Coors Field, which isn't their fault, but it still definitely helps those stats be a little more inflated. The only other one in front is Frank Thomas, who did it in 1994. Call it cherry picking, but after taking out the players who 100% did it while using steroids, Judge should be at number 6, but you could make the argument he could be number 2 on that list if you really wanted to. There's other stats we can look at all time that are important, but OPS and WRC plus paved the way for me and hopefully you. That's all time, but in 2022, Aaron Judge leads the league in home runs, batting average, runs batted in, on base, slugging, on base plus slugging, total bases, walks, OPS plus, runs created, extra base hits, amount of times on base. But somehow only 17 intentional walks, which is second behind Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians. How could pitchers still be pitching to him? If anyone is going to get the Barry Bonds treatment and get walked with the bases loaded, it should be Aaron Judge, but somehow it's Corey Seager. Now somehow there's still an argument debating who the MVP in the American League is with him and Shohei Ohtani. It's no disrespect to Shohei. If anything, it's a compliment. It takes arguably the greatest offensive season in the modern era cleanly to beat Ohtani. The only question to be answered isn't who's the MVP or how elite Judge is. It's what uniform will he be in next season. Appreciate all you guys watching. If you don't think Aaron Judge is having the greatest offensive season all time, that's completely fine. Let me know who you think has the greatest offensive season all time. If we're talking steroids, I gotta go at 2004 Barry Bonds. His stats are absolutely insane. But you guys let me know what you guys think down below. Is Shohei the MVP? Is Aaron Judge the MVP? How many total home runs will Aaron Judge hit in 2022? What uniform will he be in 2023? Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, please leave a like down below and subscribe if you guys are not already. You guys have a absolute beautiful day, and I'll see you in the next video.
And they're walking him with the bases loaded and intentional walk to Barry Bonds. Unbelievable.
Shout out to everyone on here. If you want to see your name on here, link is down in the description.